Today on Around Kansas, Deb shares some of the artists responsible for the wonderful sculptures around the state. Then in our wildlife segment, it's all about the Tarantula Hawk. It might not be what you think it is. On the front porch, Rocky Downing is visiting with KSU Microbiologist Mike Hays. Ron Wilson is back with another poem. And we end with another amazing Kansas woman and the first United States female mayor, Susanna Mador Kinsey Salter from Argonia.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on three main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Good Wednesday morning. I'm Deb Goodrich. Welcome to Around Kansas. Got my George Caleb Bingham mug this morning. Isn't that pretty? I've seen that painting. So cool. Okay, so been really busy. And you know I love to collect things. And look what I snagged a week or two ago. This I bought from our friend Roy Elfers, who lives in Colby. And this is a miniature of the sculpture They Came to Stay. And that is in front of the Sherman County Courthouse in Goodland. Isn't that awesome? Roy is just always coming up with the most incredible treasures. And Roy's sister and I, in the small world category here, used to work together in radio many, many moons ago. But we have so much fabulous public art. And of course here in Oakley we've got the Buffalo Bill sculpture. But my favorite piece is probably the one that Charlie Norton did for the Thomas County Courthouse. And that was modeled by his wife Pat and their baby boy at the time, Carson Norton, who is now a full-grown man with a family of his own and also an incredible sculptor, just like his dad. And Carson was the sculptor for the Dr. Crumbine statue that's in Topeka now, just right there across from the Capitol building and in front of the Kansas Health Institute. We have, of course, Pete Felton from Hays. We've got Jim Brothers. There's just so many wonderful, wonderful artists. Oh, and the one for this one was Greg Todd, who is a Goodland native. So much talent out there, folks. So much talent. And, you know, Wichita, my goodness, you've got Keeper of the Plains, you know, Black Bear Bosun. And there's just, oh my goodness, talent everywhere. Our biggest challenge is keeping it at home. So, you know, support your local artists so that they can afford to stay in Kansas and make their art and make all our lives richer. So that's my soapbox for the day. Speaking of really, really cool stuff, the lost city of Etzanoa, which is, of course, not quite so lost right now, down around Ark City, they are going to be having tours through the month of March. I have not gotten to get down there yet, and I am so sad, and I just keep trying to fit that into the schedule, but I'm dying to go. So if you can make it, you know, take pictures, take some video, and send them to me, because I'll get there sometime, but you've got your chance during the month of March. So we will share that information on Facebook, and you know, find us on Facebook, and they've got a Facebook page too. Take advantage of that opportunity. This find is so significant. This is not only significant in Kansas and the region, but in North America, in world history, and understanding this civilization, which was known about, but the more artifacts, the more layers that are literally peeled back, the more we understand the extent of that civilization and their trade and contact with other areas. And oh my goodness, it's just fascinating. So many fascinating things, so little time. We got a great show for you today. We'll be right back.
In 1821, a trade route was opened from Missouri in the United States across prairies and mountains to Mexico. In 2021, we will mark 200 years of epic conflicts and grand adventures, larger-than-life personalities, and sweeping landscapes. Join us on an historic journey. The Santa Fe Trail lives on.
Find us on social media or santafetrail.org.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff, like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
My name's Karen Cope, and I have multiple sclerosis. When you have MS, on the outside you look great, but what's really going on in the inside is chronic body pain, chronic fatigue. And there's lots of days that I'd wake up and say, oh, please God, help me get through this day. After stem cells, Chloe, my youngest daughter, she was asked by my father-in-law, how's your mom doing? And Chloe said, Grandpa, I've never had a mom like this before. Because she was 8 when I was diagnosed, and she really had no other memory of me but being sick. It's really the simple things that we do as a family, like play cards, and to be able to win at cards. They all laugh because I used to repeat myself and say, what hand are we on? Where are we at? And it's just been really a true blessing from God, and we're really thankful.
This segment brought to you by the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center in Oakley.
I think I mentioned the other day that we had run into one of our favorite wildlife biologists, Kurt Meyer. And Kurt's just always full of such interesting stuff. I always learn something. Like all those biologists, they're an incredible resource, and your county has one. So you seek them out and have a conversation. I guarantee you'll be enlightened. When Kurt started telling me about the Tarantula Hawk, I had no idea. I had never heard of one. And now that tarantulas aren't scary enough to some of us, you've got the Tarantula Hawk to worry about? This is incredible. This is like some Stephen King horror story. In fact, we should send this to Stephen King.
The Tarantula Hawk is not a bird, but an insect, even though it is nearly as large as some small birds. The iridescent blue-orange winged wasp can grow up to 2 inches long, and its stinger can be up to 1/4 of an inch long. Kansas wildlife biologist Kurt Meyer said they are thankfully pretty docile unless provoked, but when they are angry, watch out. The sting is considered to be the second most painful of any insect. The most painful prize goes to the bullet ant or the warrior wasp, depending on your source. As you might have guessed, the tarantula wasp gets its name from tarantulas. It actually hunts them. Well, the female hunts tarantulas, while the male, who does not even have a stinger, hangs out on the couch and watches TV, or whatever it is male wasps do. The female goes out on the prowl and finds an unsuspecting tarantula, and she pounces and stings him. The sting will paralyze the tarantula, and she will then drag him back to her den, lay her eggs inside the tarantula's abdomen, and then close up the den so he can't escape should the paralysis wear off. The tarantula becomes the host for her eggs to grow, until eventually they hatch into larvae. The larvae then feast on the poor creature until it dies. Doesn't this sound like an episode of Criminal Minds or a Stephen King horror story? According to the National Park Service, the roadrunner is one of the few critters willing to risk the sting of the tarantula hawk in order to eat him or her. I guess for a roadrunner, that insect is a pretty big, irresistible bite, and just another reason to root for the roadrunner. Beep, beep. Welcome to the Western Kansas Wildlife Travel Center, right here in my hometown of Oakley, Kansas. We're the front door of Western Kansas, located on 3 main highways, I-70, US 83, and US 40. And all those roads lead to history, beautiful scenery, and adventure, no matter which direction you go. We now have an IHOP. That brand that you've trusted up and down the road in all your travels is staffed with local folks, real people, just like you and me, and we're waiting on you to join us. So for fun, adventure, fuel up, fuel your body, and let's have some fun. Highways 40, 83, and I-70 come together right here in Oakley. Roads that lead to businesses, to magnificent rock formations, to scenic vistas, to places where legends were made. Roads that lead us home. Discover Oakley, the gateway to Western Kansas.
This segment brought to you by Bob Schwartz Financial. Values, commitment, transparency.
Hi everyone, Rocky Downing. Today on Around Kansas, we visit with Mike Hays, a microbiologist with Kansas State University. He talks about his path into Kansas State, and in his words, says he looks more like a trucker than a microbiologist, but a neat story on his path into his career.
My grandparents had a house up at Tunnel Creek Lake outside of Manhattan. So we would go up there for vacations and we'd drive around K-State. So I was K-State from early on. And then more high school, I kind of grew into KU allegiance because I had some friends that went there. And an old junior high mate of Calvin Thompson played basketball there.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Back in the mid-'80s.
Cool.
So kind of really became a KU fan about that time.
So you go to K-State with the position you took, did you know what it really was going to entail? Did you have an idea what you would be doing, I guess is what I'm asking?
Not really.
Yeah.
I'd had some experiences doing tissue culture work and virology, and those were some of my interests. And I think I just was able to sell them on that I was interested in this, and I was willing to work for basically almost nothing at the time.
So tell us when I hear microbiologist, it sounds otherworldly to a layman like myself. What is your day like? Does it change all the time?
It kind of changes with the direction that we're now. For the past 5 years, I've worked back in a research lab.
Okay.
And by the way, it's my 30th year at K-State.
Wow.
And the lab I work in now, we do research with E. coli, salmonella, just intestinal pathogens. And we study the virulence proteins they make and inject into our host cells, into our guts. They modulate our immune system. So they flick on and flick off our immune system to help them survive. So that's what we study now. Whatever comes up, we do different side projects. Do gene editing, CRISPR gene editing. We're starting to learn some of that. But that's one of the things I really enjoy about being a research scientist is that we just kind of go in an interesting direction. like a couple years ago, I went to the boss and said, hey, you know what, this CRISPR gene editing, this new technique's pretty cool. He said, yeah, we need to do something with that. So we sit down, we teach ourselves how to do it, and then we find ways in our field of study to apply it.
How many do you work hand in hand with, or, I mean, what is paint a picture of when you go into work, what it looks like for you?
Well, I have one boss is a principal investigator. He's a PhD microbiologist. Okay. And then I'm kind of a lab manager type position. And I also have my own list of projects that I work on. We have federally funded grants from the NIH that we get, $1 million over 5 years or 2 or 3 years to study these things. And then we have 2 postdocs that come in and take research projects, and then a couple graduate students, and rarely we take on an undergraduate to come in and do the lab work.
Yeah. It's fascinating to me, and it's fascinating in the fact that I can't imagine what you are able to accomplish and do. It's also over my head completely, which is fascinating. I think, do people have a reaction when they say, what do you do for a living? I'm a microbiologist. Do you get questions or eyebrows raised, or what is the reaction?
A lot of people turn around and walk away. Like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna be so dull and boring.
And you're completely opposite of that, by the way. For those that don't know Mike Hays, that is not the case at all. And I think that's maybe, okay, so people that get to know you as a coach or an author or just a sports fan, and then they find out you're a microbiologist, do you have a different reaction then too?
Oh yeah, it's like, what?
Are you serious? No,
yeah.
Really, what do you do?
Yeah.
Yeah, type of deal.
Because I don't look smart at all.
I'm Bob Swartz, and I've devoted the last 43 years to helping Kansans reach their retirement goals and to protect the family farm. At Bob Swartz Financial, we believe everyone should be able to live the retirement they've always dreamed of. Our team of professionals can help you create an efficient strategy using a variety of investment vehicles to help you address your financial needs and your concerns. Bob Swartz Financial values commitment and transparency.
Sure Crop Fertilizers was started by my father, Don Sherman, and my mother, Shirley Sherman. Family business has started in the 80s. We predominantly focus on plant nutrients and what we can do to give growers better responses with the fertilizer dollars that they do, and what we can do to make those things work better for that grower. We're based out of Seneca, Kansas. We work with growers in their soil analysis to figure out what they need, and then we can put those in a blend that gives them the best results, and so that we can deliver that direct to their farm so that they have those nutrients where they need them, when they need them, and so that they can apply them in a manner that's very efficient to them and works well in their planting systems and what they're doing. Sure Crop Fertilizers has been around for a long time. We always say we're big enough to take care of everything you need, but we're small enough to do it quickly. You can get a hold of us at 1-800-635-4743. Our website is surecropfertilizers.com, and you can always email me at Corey@surecropfertilizers.com, and with any questions you have, and we're glad to answer and work with you.
This segment brought to you by Santa Fe Trail Meats in Overbrook. Let us help feed your family.
Howdy folks, I'm Ron Wilson, Poet Laureate. The cowboy really came alive in legend at the time of the great cattle drives, and the goal of the Texas drovers was to get to Abilene. This poem is in honor of the first cowtown. One of the first cowtowns the world had ever seen was the little community known as Abilene. It all began after the Civil War here with the man for beef from the western frontier. A livestock dealer named Joseph McCoy helped bring about the American cowboy. He saw longhorns in Texas running free, and he knew what an opportunity these could be. McCoy looked for a place with grass and water abiding where he could build a big railroad siding. He traveled through Kansas on a railroad route west in search of a town that would suit his request, and when he got to the city of Abilene, he found a place which he had foreseen. It became a cattle shipping point henceforth for Texas drovers bringing cattle north. Thousands of longhorns came up the Chisholm Trail to the city of Abilene to meet the rail. The money flowed and cowboys got wild until the local folks got riled. So in time, the cattle trade moved west in the Texas cattle rancher's quest, but in the history of the West, the name still resounds. Abilene, Kansas, one of the first cow towns. Happy trails.
Trust and leadership are critical to success at Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center in Manhattan. Just ask Coach Bill Snyder.
People of the Regenerative Center do care about others. I've been highly impressed with those people that have that vested interest and try to help people become better. The center really is a wonderful thing here in Manhattan, first of its kind, and we're on the cutting edge of what lies ahead.
Find out more about the trusted leader in stem cell therapy at kansasrmc.com. Kansas Regenerative Medicine Center. Your stem cells, your health, your life.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.
Valley Vet Supply.
This segment brought to you by Kansas Farm Bureau, the voice of agriculture. To join today or for more information, go to kfb.org or find us on Facebook and Twitter.
When Michelle Martin and I started talking about the women that we would feature this month during Women's History Month, and of course throughout the year, because this year is the centennial of women's suffrage, it's so hard to narrow down 4 women, or maybe a handful, maybe a dozen if we squeeze a few others in each segment, that should be featured, because there are dozens, if not hundreds, that you should know about in Kansas history, and of course even more beyond. So Michelle, thank you for bringing these incredible stories to us each week. Good morning.
Good morning, Deb. Good morning to all our viewers. And I am here with you once again to share another story of an amazing woman from the pages of Kansas history. Today, let's take a look at the life of Susanna Mador Kinsey Salter, the first female mayor in the United States of America, from Argonia, Kansas. On a humid, stormy Kansas afternoon, I stopped in the hamlet of Argonia in Sumner County to get gas. While gassing up, I saw a sign that read, "Argonia, home of the nation's first female mayor." Intrigued, I drove into the historic downtown and followed the signs to the Susanna Mador Salter home. A humble brick structure, the house was the setting for a momentous event in the history of Kansas and the nation. The year was 1887. After fighting long and hard, the women of Kansas had gained the right to run for office and vote in local elections. Little did Susanna Mador Kinsey Salter, the daughter of Argonia's first mayor and herself a lawyer, know that she would become the first female mayor in United States history. With a population of less than 500, Argonia hardly seemed to be a place where women's political activism would take root. However, many of the town's women were active members of the Women's Christian Temperance Union, much to the chagrin of Argonia's menfolk. Susanna was a member of the WCTU. Men in the community blamed the women of the WCTU for harsh liquor laws in the state and looked to poke fun at their community activism. In 1887, as local elections neared, a group of men drew up a list of mayoral candidates that mirrored those of the WCTU with one alteration. They added the name of Susanna Salter to the ballot for mayor. The men, who never believed for a moment anyone would vote for her, had her name printed on ballots without her knowledge. On Election Day, when women went to the polls and saw Susanna's name on the ballot, they voted for her overwhelmingly. A group of men who heard about the joke ballot voted for Susanna to spite her nominators. Susanna's husband, an attorney and the city clerk, tried desperately to persuade men not to vote for his wife for fear she would be humiliated publicly. Many men voted for Susanna just to spite her husband. When the ballots were tallied, Susanna had garnered 2/3 of the vote. On April 6, 1887, Susanna was busy washing laundry when she received a handwritten note from City Hall informing her she'd been elected the mayor of Argonia at the age of 29. A busy wife and mother of young children, she decided to serve as mayor, much to the delight of Susan B. Anthony. Anthony sent Susanna a telegram upon her election. "Greetings to the first woman ever elected to the office of mayor of a city. From her friend and admirer, Susan B. Anthony." Newspapers across the nation and the globe ran stories about the intelligent, strong-willed mayoress from Argonia. She worked to shut down Argonia's saloons and gambling establishments. She also worked hard to improve the city's public safety and infrastructure. She was not without her detractors, however. In 1888, when a tornado struck the town and caused significant damage, her opponents opined that Argonia would not have been struck had a male mayor been at the helm. After serving for one term, Susanna Salter returned to private life. "I shall be very glad when my term of office expires," she told reporters. She wanted to return to raising her children. Susanna continued her work with the WCTU and also spoke at suffrage events in Kansas and shared the stage with Susan B. Anthony. Eventually, the Salter family relocated to Oklahoma during one of the state's many land runs. While living in Norman, Susanna once again drew news attention when she turned 101 years old on March 2, 1961. 2 weeks later, she died. Today, she and her husband are buried together in Argonia, the town Susanna presided over as mayor. Today, you can visit her home in Argonia and see where America's first female mayor lived and worked. I hope you all enjoyed today's look at the life of Susanna Mador Kinsey Salter. And I hope you don't forget, this year we are celebrating 100 years of women's suffrage in the United States. I hope you'll join me again on another historical adventure somewhere around Kansas.
Well, I hope you're having a great day after St. Patty's Day, known worldwide as International Hangover Day. I'm Deb Goodrich, and I'll see you somewhere around Kansas.
Closed captioning brought to you by Ag Promo Source. Together we grow. Learn more at agpromosource.com.
Ag Promo Source is a unique group of marketing specialists with one mission: help your ag business grow. Each affiliate has their own area of expertise, and they work together to bring you advice, products, and services. To get started, visit agpromosource.com. Ag Promo Source. Together we grow.
Okay, looks like it's time for our tour. Welcome to the Fort Wallace Museum. Here at the museum, you're going to find some really interesting stuff like our replica stagecoach from the Butterfield Overland Dispatch. We've got facades from the fort buildings. We've got an 1870s flag. There's a plesiosaur that was discovered locally. We've got the Ray pump organ collection. We're a little bitty place with a great big story, and we'd love to have you.
Valley Vet Supply is devoted to providing information and professional quality products at reasonable prices.